And welcome back. Today I'll be making a fireplace, and yes, I know you've watched me do a fireplace before, but I'm trying to use up some things that I have left, and this is for Victoria's Farmhouse. So the first thing I will need to do with the fireplace itself is I'm going to paint it white. And I'm just going to make the chimney breast, or whatever you want to call it. And I am using mat board because I like constructing with mat board. Especially for something like this. And I'm going to be painting the green side. It does have a texture. First, I'm just laying a line of glue along the side so that I can glue my side pieces to it. My fireplace, if you're using an existing fireplace, then you'll need to make your own measurements. Mine was just this, for the chimney breast, was just a little under 6 inches, and I believe around 4 inches wide. Nope, 3 1/4. So that was the size that I determined I needed for my fireplace. Now I'm just going to be putting some glue along the other edge. The other thing I like about mat board, what they use for pictures when they do them, is that tacky glue holds very fast. This will sit above the fireplace, so I didn't want it very big, because I'm just going to mount it right to the top of the fireplace. And I don't think I'll even need a top piece for this fireplace. Okay, I cut those, but I forgot to take off the little bit, the side pieces when I measured. So I'm just going to eyeball those and say it's about like that. I want a nice snug fit. They're going to be holding the structure together. We'll see how good I did. I am just such a tiny bit off. Probably I'd say about like so. Hopefully I haven't cut it too small. Just right. Okay, so I'm going to take the other two and I'm going to cut them the same length so they're all even. Try to get them lined up there, like that. I have 3 of them cut, so this will give me 3 going across to hold the sides of my fireplace. Mat board is strong, but I still just want to avoid any bends that could happen. We're not quite lined up. There we go. And if I lean over and you see a towel, I had to wash my hair because I got to go to work later, and you know, the whole shower deal, the whole thing, my hair is still very wet. Alright, so let's get these in. And I'm just going to be laying glue along the edges. a long edge and 2 sides, and then I will be sticking it in. Pushing my sides against it so I have a nice grip. This one up here moved just a bit. I think the glue is setting very fast, as I said. Not going to worry if I get a little glue over the edges because it's not going to show. That one might be just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit too big yet. Well, that's what I said about it grabbing fast. It's already grabbed, so I am not going to change it now. And then I'll put one toward the top. It doesn't need to be at the top, but it can be. It's not going to show. It's going to be, the whole thing's going to be glued to the wall. I'm very excited. I have never wired a dollhouse, and oh, what a struggle. But I should have went back to YouTube and watched a video because I was trying to do it the really hard way, and there is an easier way to do it. So yeah, I should have went back to YouTube and watched a video. And the video I watched is she's no longer on YouTube, but her channel is still up, obviously, and it's all small letters, Angie, A-U-G, and it's all together. And she has an amazingly wonderful video on how to install lighting. She's very good at explaining, and it is very, very simple the way she explains it. So even somebody like me can understand it. And had I watched her, I would have saved myself a lot of trouble. But I didn't. And then finally I'm like, hey, I'm going to go watch her video. And I urge anyone who's never wired a dollhouse before to go watch her video. That's Angie, all small letters, Angie, A-U-G, all ran together. She's got some other videos on there. She's amazing at doing dollhouses. I wish she'd come back to YouTube. So this will sit here centered on my fireplace and be my chimney breast. So that's about as simple as it can get, right there. And then I just need to paint this, and I'm not going to make you watch me paint, so I'll be back. Sorry about that, my camera just died. I should have plugged it in and I didn't. So, yeah. Back to what I was doing. I was just folding this over into the glue to get a nice straight edge on my brick. I did not line the top of the fireplace with the brick. I just painted it with the like a little wrinkle there, which I didn't want. I don't know if I can smooth that out now. If not, I guess it's just in there. I don't think I can. I think the paper will tear. It's very thin paper. But yeah, that's how our little fireplace is looking there. Really cute. So now I'm going to attempt to center this piece I made. And I didn't paint the top because it's going to go along the ceiling, but I did paint the bottom because it is going to go along the fireplace. So I'm going to try to line this up as even as I can and glue it down. And I'm just going to be gluing the edges on the bottom because now, oh wait, see that piece came loose. Well, this should make it hold on. One edge I didn't get enough glue on, I think. So I don't want too much glue, but I want enough that it will hold onto the fireplace. And I'm going to eyeball that and try to line it up as best I can. And I'm just going to put it in place, and I'm going to leave it to dry. Dry with it laying flat so that it stays that way and doesn't move on me at all. I don't think it would, but I don't know. So I'll be back when this is dry and we'll put the final touch on the fireplace. The little fireplace is mostly dry. I'm rather impatient. And I've now marked a line 2 7/8 up from where my mantle is, and I'm going to put a little shelf on there. And the little shelf was made out of just a piece of 1/16 inch basswood and this molding strip. I got it at Menards. They're about 4 foot long and they cost about $4, so about $1 a foot. But they come in many different designs, and I'm using one of them for the trim in the Beacon Hill because it's Victorian and I wanted big trim like the Victorians had. So I'm using that in there, and I bought a bunch of different little trims, and I'll probably at some point go back and buy some more because I really like them. They're easy to cut if you don't make mistakes. Like I've made a million mistakes, so I've kind of wasted like one whole strip, 2 whole strips. Alright, so I drew a very thin faint line here just so I could line this up and keep it mostly straight, just like so. I left a little bit of overhang at the edges. And now I'm almost wishing I'd have mitered the trim and ran it around the sides, but then again, I think this is going to be just fine. So, make sure it's straight. Gotta get some new rulers. I've been cutting my rulers with my box cutter every time I've tried to cut a straight edge, and I've had wood that has been a little tough. I have cut my rulers. So, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but I have this little piece hanging up here. It's too bad it was a nice little ruler. I've even cut my metal ruler with it, so yes, my box cutter was good and sharp. Okay, well we're going to let that dry and we're going to call that done. Next we'll be back to make a couple lamps for Grandma's house. So the first lamp for Grandma's house is going to be really easy. Sorry about bumping the table. And I only have a little bit of time before I have to go to work, so that should work hopefully. So what I've got is, in using old stuff that I've had this lampshade forever. It's yellowed. It's not the greatest, but hopefully it'll work. And I'm going to use for the base this little round that is part of this mold that I got on Temu, and I think I paid $1. I think it was less than $1.50. So yeah, it's a little round, works nice for that, and I drilled a little hole into the middle of it. And last I have a piece of a Q-tip, and I didn't want it just plain, so I just ran some wire around it, painted it black. Thought, well, it's one of those wonky, weird looking lamps, you know, the kind your family gets you for Christmas because it's like, oh, that's perfect. And it's not really, but, you know, what can you do? So I'm just going to put it together with some quick grip glue and hope it grips quick because I don't have a lot of time before I have to leave. So I'm going to start by gluing the, okay, that was a little much. Don't really think I needed that much, but it'll do. So I'm just going to be putting that. I left a little bit of the Q-tip sticking out the end there so I'd have something to glue to. I'm just going to put the quick grip around it, if it'll stick. I painted the wire with acrylic paint knowing that that doesn't usually work very well. So then I was like, oh, I'll Mod Podge over the acrylic paint. The Mod Podge started taking the paint off, so I had to paint over the Mod Podge. So now I'm just going to stick that into that little hole I drilled in the base of the lamp and hope it sets up halfway straight. So I'm going to hold it for a minute till we get it sitting straight, or what looks straight, and then we'll put the top on. And it's going to be kind of a tall lamp, but this shade is so big. It was one of those that came with the brass base, and I think originally it lit up or something, but, or maybe it didn't, but it was just, the base was too big and too gaudy. for my liking. So, yeah. And what I did do with this was I punched a little circle of mat board out with my, I don't know if you can see it, with my crocodile, just so I'd have something else for this end to stick to. And I also built the end up with a little bit of wire to make it a little bit bigger. So I didn't want just a straight lamp post, and I may have made this too big, but once the shade's on, yeah, it takes up a lot of real estate on the post. Come on, come on. It doesn't want to sit exactly straight, which is bothering me. I don't have all day to sit here and hold it. I may need to sand off the one side of that little round thing because I don't care what I do, I can't seem to get them flat. I've got some air dry clay in there right now. This was the Crayola magic clay stuff. Yeah, as you can see, it just wants to keep leaning. So I think there might be a little bump on the bottom I'll have to sand off. In the end, I want to try to put a little cord on this lamp and the other lamp that I'm going to be making. But we're just going to do this one for now. I'm hoping that with the wire that didn't get too heavy. I guess we'll just have to put a bigger base on. Come on, quick grip, grip. You're supposed to be quick and you're supposed to grip, and I'm not seeing either one. Normally, I really like quick grip. I mean, I think it's just as good as E6000. It could be that my mat's not straight either, so that definitely wouldn't help, huh? Or it could be that my Q-tip is not straight. I don't know. I may have to, once this dries, take a little off the bottom. But I'm going to try to go ahead and put on the top, and hopefully that'll happen before I have to leave. I don't know. Alright. I'm going to put quite a bit up in there because it's not going to show anyway. And I really want it to grab this base I'm putting on there. Okay. So I'm just going to put this big old glob right up here on top. If I can get it to stay. There we go. And then I'm just going to tip this upside down. And I'm going to try to hold that straight. Knowing my base isn't straight. And honestly, if this doesn't stay straight, I may have to just wait till I get the air dry clay, take it off, and redo it. I don't know if this is going to stick before I have to leave. I don't even know if I have enough up in there to... I don't think so. It's setting up, it just isn't... Oh, that's all I don't need on me when I'm going to go to work. I should have used super glue, I think. Well, let's do a little experiment. Let's see what super glue and quick grip do together. Oh yeah, I can't get the lid off my super glue. Oh, okay. Oh, this is going to be a mess. Yeah. It glued itself shut. Oh. Okay, well that isn't going to happen, I guess, so we're not going to ever know what quick grip and super glue do when they're together. Let's try to flip this. It's holding, it's just not, it's just this base that is just not wanting to hold at all. I suppose it could be that my hole is a little big, but this is what the lamp looks like. There we go. Okay, so we're going to call that good, and I will probably be back later tonight after work with the second lamp. Bye for now. Our second lamp today is going to be a very simple one, and it's going to kind of be like this one that I made, which I really like a lot. But I'm going to do it just a little different using bigger beads and a different way to do the top. This one I made a metal ring and then put clear acetate packaging over the top of it and then glued it in. But there's an easier way, because making that ring was not easy. Trying to get a wire around without something the right size didn't work. So what I'm using is 3 wooden beads that I got bags of them on Amazon. So if you just go on Amazon and search wooden beads, you're going to find a lot of them. I'm going to be using one small glass bead. I'm going to be using, and you could use a plastic bead, it wouldn't matter, a toothpick that I've already cut one end off of. Just a little flat button, but this one has like just a tiny lip around the edge, and that will help me to hold the beads onto it. I'm using the cap off a glue stick, which I have sanded to get the shine off the plastic so the paint would stick better, and then I just used some antique parchment, but you could use whatever color you'd like. And then I have a piece of scrapbook paper, or actually it's supposed to be miniature wallpaper, and that's what my shade's going to be. So I also have some super glue, and I have my hot glue gun going. So let's get started. This is quick and easy, and anybody can do it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a little bit of the super glue, and I want to glue the largest bead to the button. I've already painted these, so you didn't have to watch me do that, and I didn't get paint all the way to the bottom, but that's okay because it won't show, and I can always touch it up if it does. Now, with buttons, the one problem I will tell you is a toothpick will go through the holes if the holes are big enough. So you got to kind of watch out for that. You can take tacky glue or something like that and just go ahead and fill the holes on the button. That works too. So I am just going to put a bit of super glue around the edge of my biggest bead. And I'm just using super glue gel I got from Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to set the bead in there with the hole up. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to try to get it as up, as it's sitting, so it's straight up the hole in the bead as much as I possibly can. And the toothpick is a little bit small for that bead, so just so you know, I tried a bamboo skewer, the big bead went on nice and snug, but then the smaller beads didn't want to go onto the bamboo skewer. Alright, so now I'm just going to put some super glue on the bottom of the toothpick. And I want to get a fair amount, not too much, but enough that it's going to hold this toothpick. And then I'm just going to insert the toothpick down through the bead onto the button. And I'm going to hold that for a couple minutes. Now I'm not going to worry a whole lot if it isn't quite, set yet, because I'm going to be adding the second bead on right now. And that'll help hold the super glue and the toothpick and everything else. So I'm just putting the glue around the hole on the bead. I don't need a lot. And I left my beads just the matte finish that the acrylic paint is. But you could put on, once your paint's dry, you could put on, you could probably use diamond glaze, you could use Mod Podge, either matte or, well, darn it, either matte or the glossy stuff. You could do anything you want, for your lamps. And So yeah, that's up to you. I am now sticking to the toothpick. And the toothpick is not stuck in the beads, but this second bead will hold the toothpick on. And it should be, since it's a gel, it should be taking a little longer to set up. So I have every confidence that this will glue together. And now I'm just going to be putting the smallest bead down there. And I think this time, I'm going to try to be a little smarter about this. And I'm going to put the super glue right onto the bead. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see if you've got it on there or not, depending on the angle you're at. So then I just realized my beads are not really in camera. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's what we're going to do, and then we're just going to slip that second bead, or third bead, over the top. And that one goes down a little snug on the toothpick, so we can see it's leaning just a bit, but I think it's going to be okay. So now, let's get going on. Oh, you know what? I have no glue stick. I think it fell out, because I did have one in there, but I think it fell out. So let's get another glue stick. It's the problem with these big glue sticks. They're heavy and they want to fall out. So let's see, we should be ready. Let's get some glue there. Yep, we're ready. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, and I learned this watching Dollhouse tutorial with Lori. This I'm doing, you wouldn't have to, but I think it's going to make a much better hold than what I've been doing. So I just need to look around here, because my tweezers are here somewhere. I got into a project yesterday with something for Victoria's Farmhouse, and I have a mess all over. It's just how it is. So I don't know where's Okay, I'm going to use this. I'm just going to use this pokey tool to do it. But what Lori did is she filled the caps partially with hot glue and then let them set for a little while. And she was doing a really cute idea, so you need to go over there and check out her channel if you haven't. She is amazing. So I'm just going to put some hot glue into this cap. And then I'm going to just bang it on the table to kind of spread it out so it's even. And I may not have enough in there. I don't think so. And then she just let it sit for just a few minutes, whatever it was. I'm just trying to get the glue spread. And she just let it set for a little bit so that it wouldn't be, you know, as hot and as runny and sticky. So we're just going to let that set just a little bit. My toothpick is not completely straight, but it'll be fine. These lamps do not light up, but they are super cute. So this is what the side of the lamp looks like. And I really like that look for a more modern lamp. Okay, so I'm gonna now take this bead on my pokey tool, and this is probably where life is gonna go bad. And I'm gonna try to hold it with my fingers, and then I'm gonna ease it down into the super glue so that the hole is facing up. Now she didn't do this part. I learned this from someone else, and I can't remember the name of the channel, but this person does mostly mini lights. And I mean, all I did was go in and I just, you know, did a search with miniature lamps, and a whole bunch came up. So anyway, I don't know if you can see that, but the bead is now down into the cap. Just like that. I'm going to let that set up just a minute. It feels like it's getting set. It's not real hot. It's just barely warm in there now, so I know the glue's setting up. And while I do that, I'm going to unplug my glue gun, because I'm not needing it anymore for this. And at this time also I'm going to be cutting, I didn't cut the tip off my toothpick because I wasn't quite sure how far down I wanted this to set on the lamp. So I think, and I think I'm just going to cut it off right after the point starts, or right before the point starts, like that. I'm using miter shears. You don't have to. You could probably cut that off with just a pair of regular old scissors. Don't use anything good. I do not recommend letting children play with these because they could be a choking hazard because there are small pieces if it were to come apart. So please, use caution when you think about making something for a child to play with. Because this definitely, I would not give to a small child. Alright, so now that that has pretty much set up, the lamp is pretty much set up, I am going to take and I'm going to put some super glue on the end of my lamp, my dowel, and I didn't paint this one. Usually I paint the dowels, and honestly I just forgot. So I did not paint my toothpick. It's not going to show, but oh shoot, I jumped ahead of myself. I need to put this onto the lampshade first. Okay, sorry. So I'm going to go down just a little ways from my lid because I don't want to be able to see that. I don't want the lid showing. And you can paint the underside too, just, just in case. I need to, oh, I'm out of baby wipes. I need to wipe this glue off with something. I'll just use this old piece of cardboardy like stuff here. Cardboardy. Yeah, okay, that's not a word. Oh, it's morning. Yeah, oops, stuck to it. Okay, so first let's apply the paper to the lamp, what's going to be our lampshade. And as you can see here, even sanding it, some of my glue, my paint's coming off. So that can happen. So I'm just going to use tacky glue. I'm going to try that because I don't want to use hot glue. I'm just going to kind of run some around there. I don't want a thick coat because I don't want any lumps in my lampshade. So I'm just putting some on and then just kind of smoothing it around with my finger. You wouldn't have to use your finger if you've got something else to spread it with. I just want to make sure I have a nice thin light coat covering the lampshade. Alright, now I'm going to lay my lampshade down onto my paper, leaving the small space I want. Try to get it lined up pretty even. Then I'm just going to start rolling the paper around the lampshade, and I cut this. Okay, so I'm going to stick my finger inside of there just to kind of help guide me. And I cut this just big enough to go around my lid. So let's see if we can get it pretty even. And I mean, you're going to know if you got it pretty even because your paper is going to meet and it's going to be even on the bottom. If not, you'll have to adjust it. So I'm just going to roll that all the way around and give it just a little bit of time to set up. And you can make your shade any way you want. If you want to cover it in fabric, that's great. If you want to paint it, that's good. I would say probably at least 3 coats or use a gesso underneath. Yeah, you could do your lampshade any way you want. And speaking of that, where did it go? Oh, there we go. Don't throw away your packaging, okay? Like, I bought it, I don't remember if this came out of the Dollhouse Light Kit or it came out of some Dollhouse lights I bought. But this piece, I don't know if you can see that, is almost perfectly lampshade shaped. It does have a big hole in the top that'll have to be dealt with when I use it. But yeah, it is almost perfectly lampshade shaped. So don't throw away your packaging until you've looked at every little bubble part on there, because there are a lot of things that you can pick up or cut off of it and use in miniature. I found off that lighting kit. I got a small square casserole, or you could use it for any other type of little dish. I got 2 pieces that look like baking pans, and some other pieces that I know will be useful for dollhouse miniatures. So yeah, always look at your clear packaging, because there are a lot of things that can be used. Okay, so now I have just brought the paper over and I overlapped it onto the piece I had glued down, and then I ran a line of tacky glue and I just overlapped the other piece. That'll be, you can set that at the back of your lamp when you put it in your house and nobody's gonna notice. And if you're really good, or you have paper that matches up, see, this kind of almost did, but not exactly. If you have paper that matches up and you're good at that, nobody will ever see your seam. You could also just butt it up together, but I don't trust that because I've had it slip on me before. So, all right, well, there's that. Now, the last thing we're going to do, which I just tried to do a little while ago, is I am going to put super glue back on the end of this toothpick. And I put quite a bit on there. I don't think I really needed that much. Okay, now this can be the tricky part depending on your lampshade. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I don't know if you can see the process, I'm going to put the toothpick with the super glue into the hole of the bead, and I'm going to just hold it. And I thought that was a really cool tip, because no matter what type of lampshade you're using, you can stick that bead in there, and if the hole is big enough to go around whatever you're making your your lamp out of, such as a toothpick in this case, it just helps to hold it all together really well. So that was a great idea. And Lori's idea of putting the hot glue into the lid so that you have something, to stick either your lamp into, if you have the right type end on your lamp, or you want to stick a bead in like I did, that, that's great. It works so nice. It's amazing. And honestly, I have not made many dollhouse lamps in my life, so these 2 tips were really good, for me. So, and I think, that it just really simplifies the process of making the little lamp. Okay, it's starting to set up. This gel, sometimes it takes almost immediately, and other times it takes a little bit. So every time I go to buy the Gorilla Glue gel in the stores, they're out. So I'm going to take it that I can tip this lamp. And this one is quite a tall one. And sometimes you got to tip them over. I mean, this could be that the hot glue isn't completely dry and set up yet, or it's just the super glue. Now this is going to be a very tall lamp. You could use a shorter shade, because on this one my upper bead really doesn't show unless you're looking, directly at the side of the lamp, and then you see a little bit of it. On this one it shows just a little bit more, which was what I was attempting to go for on this one. And yeah, something is just, the glue gel is not set up yet completely on that one. This one, I had that with that one too. So I'm just going to keep straightening it a little bit, I don't want a wonky looking lamp. And I'm just going to let it sit now, and I'm going to let it dry. My other lamp still doesn't want to sit up straight. I think it's because this top is so heavy and my base is a little too small. So if you're redoing a lamp like this and you're like me and you put wire or something heavy on it, use a wider base. Now this will be fine once I put, the wax on the bottom, sticky wax on the bottom, and get it sat down on a table. It'll be fine. But yeah, it does not want to sit up exactly straight. Sometimes not. So, and I'm still kind of adjusting my shade here. And the heat, if that hot glue's, even a little bit hot still, is probably affecting the gel drying time a little bit too. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. A very simple, easy to do lamp. And yeah, Like I said, this super glue gel is very slow to set up. I mean, which is good, you know, it's good to have time to work with things and manipulate them, but sometimes you'd like it to dry a little faster. So that is lamp number 2. And you know, this is so much fun making these little lamps. It really is. I need to save more bottle caps and more, you know, more other things like packaging and that I can use. But yeah, once this one sat up, it was very sturdy. So that's it for now. It's not too much to ask. Please hit like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. I also want to, again, welcome any new subscribers that I have and welcome everyone else back. Thank you for joining me. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.